I was smoking like a chimney, one right after the other. My nerves were completely shot and I was emotionally drained, and I noticed that my hands were still kind of shaking. The stars were out now over Moselle, and I decided to go and sit by myself and stare at them for a while. I was thinking how I was lucky to be alive. I've never experienced anything like the fear I felt today. I thought about that guy who jumped out from the corner of that building with that angry look on his face when he pointed the AK at my head and pulled the trigger. By studying the things they carried in other sources, we have gained an understanding about how war can affect the individuals involved in it. We have read numerous examples and looked at various perspectives, and through our studies we believe that we can narrow down the three major effects that war has on the people involved. War affects those involved in different ways. Soldiers go through a lot on the field of battle and even out of combat. While reading the things they carried and studying other sources, we have found that all soldiers experienced at least one of the three major effects: of forced and close proximity to death, post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, and a change in personality. So first, we're going to talk about PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder affects many soldiers that have seen combat and even some that have never seen combat. Post-traumatic stress disorder can manifest itself in many ways. It can cause irritability or anger, make the victim avoid thoughts or places that trigger a memory of the event, guilt, and even suicidal thoughts. In Tim O'Brien's fictional story, The Things They Carried, there is a short story about Norman Boker, a soldier who sat and watched his dying friend sink into a swamp. He avoids talking about the event, feels guilty for his friend's death, and in the end commits suicide to end all of his guilt and shame. Even though this was a fictional story, Norman represents all soldiers who come back from war with post-traumatic stress disorder. Norman faced a close proximity to the death of one of his best friends. Seeing this as a major contributing factor to his post-traumatic stress disorder. We can see this by the way he is constantly thinking about it.
War can also cause a total shift in personality. Marianne Bell, a fictional character in The Things They Carried, serves as the extreme example. Her boyfriend, Mark Fosse, a U.S. Marine, flies a route to Nam to spend time with her, and in a few short weeks she is already going out on ambush with the Green Berets. Later on, Mark Fosse finds her in a hooch listening to tribal music, wearing a necklace of human tongues, and she explains to him he doesn't belong in Vietnam. He's not a true soldier, but she is. Vietnam changed Marianne completely and changes soldiers every day, in and out of combat. Another aspect of war that greatly affects a soldier is the close proximity to death. Death is a very sobering thing to experience because it forces one to realize the mortality of human life. Most soldiers move into a war knowing full well that one of their comrades might die, but when it actually happens, their emotions can run wild and even destroy them. One passage from The Things They Carried clearly shows this. Later, higher in the mountains, we came across a baby BC water buffalo. What it was doing there I didn't know, no farms or paddies, but we chased it down and got a rope around its neck and led it through a deserted village where we set up for the night. After supper, Cat Riley went over and stroked his nose. He opened up a can of sea rations, pork and beans, but the baby water buffalo wasn't interested. Rat shrugged. He stepped back and shot it through the right front knee. The animal did not make a sound. It went down hard, then got up again, and Rat took careful aim and shot off an ear. He shot off the hindquarters and the little hump on its back. He shot it twice in the flanks. It wasn't to kill it, but to hurt it. Even while The Things They Carried is a fictional novel, Rat Kiley stands for all of the soldiers who witnessed one of their best friends getting injured or even dying in combat, as we saw in the movie Restrepo, when all of the soldiers happened upon their fallen comrade in the middle of the fight. Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carried gives us numerous examples of how war affects a soldier's life. There are three major effects that war can cause to a soldier's mind and body. It can change them on a personal level, force them into a close proximity to death, and even cause post-traumatic stress disorder. All of these things can have different effects on a soldier's life, and as we see through the fictional tales and The Things They Carried, they are not to be taken lightly. That is how war affects those involved.